They built cathedrals with it, carved it into stone, hid it in stained glass. But the deeper mystery of sacred geometry wasn't just about beauty, it was about power. And Jesus knew exactly how to use it. We've been told miracles are anomalies, exceptions to the laws of nature, flukes, unrepeatable acts of divine interruption. But what if that's wrong? What if miracles are not violations of natural law, but expressions of a deeper law? A hidden architecture woven into the cosmos itself, a geometry of the divine. From the spiral arms of galaxies to the double helix of your DNA, from snowflakes to sunflower seeds, creation follows patterns. Sacred ratios, geometric forms that repeat from the micro to the macro. This isn't coincidence, it's design. Ancient cultures knew it. Egyptians aligned their pyramids to the stars. Greeks built temples with golden proportions. Hebrews encoded geometric significance into the layout of the tabernacle. These weren't aesthetic choices. They were spiritual technologies, ways to access the divine. Jesus, born into this lineage of mystical knowledge, didn't ignore these principles. He embodied them. Every gesture, every parable, every miracle followed a deeper symmetry. He wasn't defying the structure of reality. He was revealing its blueprint. And at the heart of that blueprint, geometry, sacred, resonant, living. There's a shape you've seen 1,000 times and never noticed. Two overlapping circles, the fish symbol, the almond-shaped space in the center. It's called the Vesica Piscis. To some, it's just a design. To mystics, it's the womb of creation. Mathematically, it's the intersection of duality, light and dark, male and female, finite and infinite, spirit and matter. Where they overlap, form emerges. This shape has been embedded in church windows, cathedral layouts, and ancient mandalas for centuries, because initiates believed that where Vesica appears, spirit enters matter. That this geometric doorway was more than symbolic, it was functional. Jesus taught unity not by preaching it, but by being it. His life was the Vesica in motion, fully divine, fully human, fully transcendent, fully grounded. His miracles were acts of alignment, of bringing opposites into resonance. When he healed, he was restoring balance. When he walked on water, he was entering the space between faith and fear. When he multiplied loaves, he was pulling from the field of infinite into the realm of finite. What's more, many early Christian artworks depicted Christ within the Vesica, not as decoration, but as declaration. He was the space between, neither this world nor entirely beyond it. A living bridge. And the almond shape? It's not just a pretty design. Biologists call it the mandorla, the shape formed by the intersection of two cells during the earliest stage of life. It's the geometry of birth itself. So when Christ stood in that shape, it wasn't art, it was code. A reminder that through alignment, something new can be born. That miracles aren't interventions, they're intersections. The Vesica isn't just a symbol of Christ, it's a portal, a passage, a path. And once you learn to stand in that sacred center between certainty and mystery, you begin to vibrate with the same energy. You don't just believe in miracles, you become one. There's a number so profound, so elegant, it's called the fingerprint of God, 1.618. The golden ratio, phi. It's not just math, it's the signature of life. You see it in the spiral of a galaxy, the curve of an ocean wave, the structure of pine cones, flower petals, hurricanes, and even your own face. It shapes the proportions of your bones, your heart, and the cochlea of your inner ear, the place where sound becomes perception. Phi is the silent rhythm of creation, and Jesus moved in sync with it. His parables weren't randomly structured. His movements, speech patterns, even the physical layout of the events around him often mirrored the golden proportion. as though the story itself was harmonizing with the deeper pulse of the cosmos. Ancient builders believed that anything constructed in harmony with Phi would resonate naturally with human consciousness. That beauty wasn't in the eye, it was in the brain, the breath, the blood. That something built with divine proportion would create peace, not just mentally but physiologically. This is why in cathedrals based on Phi, people report feeling a stillness they can't explain. Time seems to soften, thoughts slow down, emotions find symmetry. Jesus didn't need buildings, he was the temple, and when people came near him, they aligned. You felt seen, not because of his gaze, but because your geometry remembered its shape. Modern scientists have found Phi in heart rate variability, in brain waves during meditation, in the proportion of lung branches, and even in the orbit of Venus. Harmony isn't preference, it's structure. And when you live in alignment with structure, life doesn't get easier, but it gets clearer. Miracles don't require effort, they require resonance, and Jesus, in tune with Phi, became a tuning fork for those around him. He reminded the body how to breathe, the soul how to listen, the heart how to spiral back into wholeness. To most, the cross is a symbol of suffering, a device of death. But in sacred geometry, the cross is not about pain, it's about positioning. It represents the axis mundi, the world axis, where the vertical line of spirit meets the horizontal plane of matter, the intersection of heaven and earth, of the infinite and the finite, the moment where time touches the eternal. This symbol predates Christianity by millennia. Found in Mayan, Egyptian, Celtic, and Mesopotamian traditions, it always meant the same thing. Here is the center. Here is where transformation occurs. Jesus' crucifixion wasn't just an execution. It was a cosmic alignment. His body, arms outstretched across east and west, head between earth and sky, became the living cross. A moment in which every dimension touched. Even his final words echoed this alignment. Into your hands I commit my spirit. Vertical. It is finished. Horizontal. The crucifixion site, Golgotha, the place of the skull, is symbolically tied to the pineal gland, the gateway between worlds in many esoteric traditions. And what is the pineal but the spiritual antenna, tuned by light, sound, and geometry? By embracing the cross, not fleeing from it, Jesus became the axis, the tuning fork between planes, the bridge, not the barrier. The cross appears again in the Celtic wheel, the Egyptian ankh, and in the Hindu swastika before it was corrupted. These weren't merely symbols, they were maps of energy, intersections of intention and matter. In deep meditation, when the breath stills and the mind silences, mystics often report visions of a luminous cross within, not as dogma, but as energetic alignment, a compass within the human body that directs consciousness toward its source. When he said, "Take up your cross," he wasn't promoting martyrdom. He was pointing toward inner alignment, becoming the sacred intersection yourself. The church saw the sacrifice, but the mystics saw the geometry of resurrection. What if words weren't meant to be read, but seen? Cymatics shows us that sound organizes matter. Speak into a metal plate dusted with powder, and patterns emerge, geometric, ordered, elegant. A single chant can ripple form into being. The ancients understood this intuitively. That's why mantras, incantations, and sacred names were never about definition. They were about vibration. And Jesus, he used words with intent. Talitha cum wasn't random, it was resonance. Ephatha wasn't symbolic, it was specific vibration directed into the field. These weren't spells, they were sonic blueprints. Every letter in ancient alphabets, Hebrew, Aramaic, Sanskrit held numerical and vibrational significance. To speak was to shape, to chant was to construct. The Hebrew name of God, YHWH, wasn't meant to be spoken aloud in a traditional sense. It was breath. It was the sound of being. The inhale and exhale encoded in sacred letters. Try it. Yod, He, Vav, He. Breath entering, pausing, releasing, returning. The first and final language. Ancient cathedrals were designed to amplify sacred frequencies. Their domes and arches captured harmonic echoes. Gregorian chants weren't composed. They were discovered, aligned to the mathematics of emotion. This is why the Gospel of John doesn't begin with a birth story. It begins with, "In the beginning was the Word." Because before form, there was frequency. Before miracle, there was tone. What if prayer is less about asking and more about tuning? What if we're not speaking to the divine, but tuning ourselves to receive it? If every cell in your body resonates with the right sound, could it heal? If every thought vibrates in harmony with divine intention, could it create? This isn't fantasy, it's physics. The final mystery isn't in temples or symbols, it's in you. Your body is sacred geometry, your breath a waveform, your heart a field, the spiral of your DNA, the rhythm of your pulse, the flow of your thoughts, all of it moves in patterns ancient and divine. You are not a mistake of flesh, you are a temple of frequency. Jesus said, "The kingdom is within you," not as a metaphor, as a design. Miracles don't happen outside you, they are expressions of alignment when you remember your form, when you return to coherence, when your soul, mind, and body move in harmony. This is why Jesus never said, "Worship me," he said, "Follow me," because he wasn't the exception, he was the template, and you, your voice, your posture, your choices are shaping geometry with every breath. You are the sacred Vesica, the breath of YHWH, the proportion of Phi. Every heartbeat is a cymatic pulse, every word you speak a fractal influence on the field. You are not here to observe geometry, you are here to become it. And in doing so, you no longer witness miracles, you live them. The path is not found in stone. It is found in sound, in symmetry, in silence. Every time you breathe consciously, you align with the original pattern. Every time you speak with intention, you reconstruct the sacred architecture. Every time you love fully, you become the Christ code in motion. You are not separate from the divine grid. You are the geometry of God. They told you to bow before the cross, but what if you are the axis? They told you miracles were exceptions, but what if they're instructions? Watch. Miracles Decoded. Was Jesus using quantum laws?